Welcome to or back to our channel. We read books and we have bitches.
And today, we're telling you our 10 worst / most disappointing books of the year.
Yep. I feel like I read quite a few books that were just like really aggressively fine. So not all of these books I actively dislike. A lot of them I just was like not impressed by or disappointed by.
Yeah, same. I actually found it was really difficult to find like 10 of my worst books or books that I didn't really like this year. I feel like books, if I didn't think I was going to like them, I DNF'd them within like 10 pages.
I do have one DNF.
I have one DNF as well, but I got like halfway through it, so I figured it counted.
Yeah. You want to go first?
Sure. So the only book that I physically own, the rest, thank God I read from the library, is the Kiss Countdown by Etta Easton. This is, I have the Afterlight edition, which is very cute, and it's about a girl who is like a party planner and this guy who is an astronaut. There's nothing inherently wrong with this book. I just found the main character is so incredibly annoying that I couldn't get over it, and that's about it. I just didn't like her. That's it. That's all. I'm sorry.
I unfortunately own quite a lot of my 10 worst, but I'm going to start off with the ones that I don't own. So first is The Whispering Dark by Kelly Andrew. It was an Illumicrate book.
You read that this year?
Yeah, I read it this year, like way at the beginning of the year. I was just like not really impressed by it. I thought that the writing style was a little basic, characters were a little bit basic. I did think it was interesting that the main character is deaf. I thought that was pretty good in representation, so I liked that aspect. I would maybe pick up something else she wrote, but yeah, I was just not impressed by that book.
Okay, and like I said, I own none of the rest of these. So the first book that really disappointed me this year was Gwen and Art Are Not in Love, which is kind of like a King Arthur retelling. It's a YA, it's by Lex Croucher. And I think Lex Croucher is just not the author for me. I tried to read one of her like Regency romances where it's like Mean Girls but Regency. Anyway, I just don't like them. I don't like her writing. I don't like the style. They don't make sense to me. They're like very goofy. Like this is like King Arthur, but they're not. It's like historical, but it's not the King Arthur, but they're the descendants of King Arthur. But that's not even the problem. It's like the characters and the way she writes. I don't know. She's just not for me. Did not like.
Okay, my next book is kind of controversial one. It's Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. We own so many Olivia Blake books, and I haven't loved any of the ones I've read. Her writing just doesn't work for me, and I know that this is a lot of people's favorite books because of the difficult like mental illness topics that it discusses. I just personally, for me, the way it was discussed and the characters just didn't really connect with me.
My next book that I thankfully don't own is Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. This was so bad. I didn't think it was romantic. This is like this serial killer where they are both serial killers and they have a competition and fall in love. Whatever. That's fine. It's not even the serial killer part that I don't mind. It's the actual writing / romance. This book takes place over like a year, and these characters went from being strangers who were kind of intrigued by each other to being like best friends and like obsessed with each other, but we saw none of that growth, right? We saw absolutely none of their like becoming friends. There would be time skips, but they would have been communicating this whole time with each other, and we saw none of that communication, so all of a sudden they're just like gung-ho besties. And the writing was bad, and the plotting was bad. It was bad. I didn't like it. Very bad. 0 out of 10.
Okay, so my next book that we don't own was a DNF. I DNF'd it about 100 pages in, and that is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon.
I also DNF'd that.
This one, I am not the target audience for this kind of book. I don't remember why we tried to read it. I think we tried to read it, like, just for funsies.
Yeah.
And it was not funsies for me.
What was really funny about this book, though, is we both, when we first started
I was like, this is not bad.
This is so fun and funny. Goofy. But by, like, page 100...
I was, like, a little bit over it.
Both of us were like, I'm done with this.
And I will say, I was, like, in a really slumpy mood, and it did help me get out of my reading slump. I didn't finish the book, and I didn't enjoy it after, like, 50 pages. But yeah, like, it's fine. I just am not the target audience. I didn't think I was gonna like that book, but I thought I'd give it a try. And I did.
So my next book is also a DNF, but I DNF this one like 160 pages in, so I'm counting it. And that's The Au Pair Affair by Tessa Bailey. And I have an entire vlog where I talk about this book and why I hate this book. But let me just give you some brief. This is gonna get into spoiler territory here, but I have to say this because so the main character, she like moves in with this guy, her love interest, to be his nanny, au pair, whatever, and he's quite a bit older than her. That's not even the part I have an issue with. This girl, she's like, oh yeah, I don't trust men very easily, even though she does, in fact, move in with this man that she's met like once. We get like little sprinklings of like something happened to her in college, and that's why she doesn't like men, which like fair, who didn't have a bad experience with a man in college.
Who actually likes men.
And then it just gets dropped on us, this bad experience. And I'm not laughing because it's like, I'm not laughing because it's like a funny situation. I'm laughing just because it was so absurd and came out of nowhere. This girl in college, her like high school boyfriend stalked her, which like that's serious, that happens. If that was just it, I would have been like, oh yeah, that's traumatic. But no, he like told people he got into the same college as her, moved like in across the hall from her or something like that, and then kidnapped her and like kept her in a closet for like weeks. And it was just like so casually like dropped into the book that I couldn't continue. I just couldn't keep going. And it took me out. Also, you know how like in romance series there'll be like side characters that they like set up for the next book in the series, which The Au Pair Affair was set up from Fangirl Down, which I did read and didn't hate. But so the couple that was setting up for like the next book was like the main guy's teammate. They play hockey together, and his love interest is his stepsister, or about to be stepsister, and I just can't endorse that. I can't endorse that. Anyway.
Okay. Anyways. My next book is gonna be a huge disappointment to some people, Katie in particular, and that is Check and Mate. Now, I didn't actively hate this book. I thought it was fine.
She sounded like she hated it though for when she was yelling about it.
My biggest issue with this book was that Mallory was kind of annoying, first of all, but the biggest issue was that this girl took 4 years off from chess. Never really played competitively, and goes through a whole cycle without losing. I don't believe that. That would never happen. That's not possible.
She's just a prodigy.
And I was just like, I don't know. I don't find it entertaining when people don't have to struggle. Struggles. Yeah, but like, I don't know. This book just didn't work for me.
I thought it was very cute. I was kicking my feet.
I mean, I think it's like pretty high praise that I didn't hate it. So you gotta take the small victories.
She's a romance hater. Are you done?
Anyways, yeah, I'm done.
My next worst book is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. And I somehow read the whole thing. Listen.
You read all of it?
Well, I skimmed probably the last. This book was way too long. And it felt like fan fiction, but like not in a good way. Where like, and what I mean by that is I feel like in fan fiction, especially fan fictions that were like updated very often, this is so specific, authors would like feel like they needed to update their audience, so they would have a lot of like filler chapters where like the main couple just like have like a day in the life. Okay she doesn't know, but when I say that a book feels like fan fiction in a bad way, I feel like I often mean that, where it's like, and that's another reason that these books are always like so long, is because they have a lot of like filler chapters where we just see them like hanging out at the house, or like having weird sex. And I just... Also, like, I don't know if this girl had never been to, like, a college in her life. Because it's, like, a college romance, but, like, college where? What do you mean? No one lives in a dorm?
Interesting.
Anyway, I hated it.
Okay. My next book was another book I just felt aggressively neutral about, The Ebony Gate. It took me a long time to read. I thought the concept was really interesting. Some of the plot points were interesting. It does have a sequel. That's why I'm hanging on to it. I want to read the sequel at some point. It's just not high on my priority list. And if I enjoy the sequel, then I'll keep this one. But I was really disappointed by it because it was one of my anticipated releases, and I just thought there was a little bit too much going on. And I did like the main character, but the other characters I felt like weren't really fleshed out. Yeah. It was just, just disappointing mostly.
I just remembered something about Icebreaker.
What?
There's an entire scene where they have, like, graphic sex, I think, and he's dressed up like a minion the whole time.
Oh no, I don't like that. I don't like that.
You're making me nervous when you put your books like that. Okay, the next one I'm going to talk about is One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware. Ruth Ware books are very hit or miss. I usually really like Ruth Ware books, though. This one, though, not that it was bad, but it just wasn't what I was expecting it to be. It is supposed to be like this couple, and they go on this reality TV show called One Perfect Couple, and then I thought it was going to be like murders happening while they're on this island for this game show. What it ended up being is this couple, they go to the island, whatever. Then it becomes kind of like Lost. They're stranded on an island and people are dying, and it's more like Lord of the Flies. But I think that the murderer was really easy to figure out, and that's not good for a mystery.
Sorry about the angle change. Camera died. I think we were at me. Right?
Yeah,
okay.
I believe so. I don't know.
All right.
I could be wrong.
So my next book on my worst list is another Olivia E. Blake, and that is The Atlas Complex, the last in the Atlas 6 trilogy. This series could have been everything I ever wanted, but it wasn't. And that was just unfortunate. I did like some of the characters. I liked some of the plot lines, but I think overall it was just like too much. Like, it was a little bit too convoluted. The characters were interesting, but it just I feel like she just really lost the plot.
I have a distinct memory of us like walking down the street in DC and you explaining the plot of that to me, because I was like, I'm never gonna read the third one. And every time you said another thing, I was like, wait,
yeah,
what?
Like, it was just
and like not in a good way.
Unnecessary. I felt like a lot of it was unnecessary.
Yes. Okay, so my next book, this book wasn't bad, but it was just like, eh. And that's Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies by Catherine Mack. And I think it was just very not good. I don't know. Oh, Benny needs water. Benny needs water.
That fell off the table.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have anything much to say about it. It's like this girl, and she's writing a book? Oh, yeah. She's like writing a book. Yeah, just didn't really care for it.
Okay, my next one is another controversial one, and that is Beautiful World, Where Are You? By Sally Rooney. I think that Sally Rooney and me just are not a pair. The only book of hers that I've actually liked was Normal People, and I think that was influenced by the fact that I watched the show.
And how could you not love Paul Mescal?
Yeah, pretty much immediately after I finished the book. I don't like her characters. I think that they make dumb decisions. I don't like the relationships between them. I know that they're supposed to be real and raw, but I just feel like if you want that, you should read Frederick Bachman.
Although some people say his books are not real enough. They're
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I love him.
Yeah, we are a Freddie household.
Yes. Okay, so my next book is The Fake Boyfriend Fiasco by Talia Hibbert. And this one hurts me because I love Talia Hibbert. This is part of her backlist that's been republished. And also I love soccer players, and the love interest is a soccer player. But yeah, it was just very he was obsessed with her immediately, and I don't necessarily love that. Yeah, I don't know, I just didn't get on with it. I think it was honestly too horny.
Not really what you're looking for.
Not what I was looking for.
Okay, my next book is both disappointing and was just bad, and that is Five Broken Blades by Maya Corland. I think that it's a beautiful book. Like, come on. It's Red Tower. That's all they are. Beauty, no substance.
Beautiful gowns.
And I just I think that this had a lot of promise, and I initially wasn't going to pick it up because I'm not really much of a romantasy reader, and that is kind of Red Tower's thing. But I heard a lot of good things about this, and so I was like, okay, I saw it in Target. I was like, okay, I'll pick it up. It's beautiful. I think that it needed a lot more editing, both developmental and line editing. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that one.
My next is actually a short story collection, and that's Out There Screaming, which was edited by Jordan Peele. And this one's kind of hard because some of the stories I really liked, and some of them I really hated. But what this felt like to me was not audition tape, but it felt like a lot of the authors were pandering a little bit to what Jordan Peele's movies tend to be like. And so I felt like it was the same theme over and over and over again, which is fine. And some of them were really enjoyable. Like I said, some of the stories I really liked, but I think it was just too much of the same for a short story collection, and it was just kind of disappointing in general because I was really excited for it.
Okay, my penultimate book on my worst is a book that I thought was fine. It didn't wow me, but I didn't actively dislike it, and that is Of Jade and Dragons. This is a beautiful Illumicrate edition. I think that I have read a lot of East Asian fantasy, and this one kind of just didn't really do anything new. It is YA, and YA can be really hit or miss for me. I thought that the main character was a little bit irritating. I didn't really connect with her. I did like the love interest's little brother. He was funny. But yeah, I was just, it didn't do anything for me, unfortunately, because it is such a beautiful edition.
Sorry, if you see what I'm doing, the dogs keep tossing their stuff
They want
to me, and I'm tossing it to them. My last book was Daikett by Jenny Fran Davis. And, okay, this book isn't bad, but I think my main frustration with this book is that we started and ended in the same place, which I do think there's a room for books like that, but I feel okay, so this book is about multiple lesbian couples who are on vacation, and they're all kind of terrible people in their own way, and it's just one of those kind of slice of life books, but it's set up so there could be character growth, especially with the main character, but then there isn't any, and where the characters start in their relationships and where they end, they kind of end in the same place. So we're building to this growth, we're building to a revelation or something, but it just doesn't happen. It just kind of goes nowhere and ends. So I thought it was very kind of deeply unsatisfying. I would say this one's more of disappointing than bad. Most of these books are disappointing and not bad. I think that what I was hoping to get out of this book, I just did not find. And that's all. That's all about that.
Okay, so my last book on the worst of the year, again, is more just very mid, nothing special, and that is Fathom Folk by Eliza Chan. This is another Illumicrate edition. Beautiful, kind of similar to Of Jade and Dragons. I've read a lot in this genre, and I think in my Goodreads review I said this book got a single giggle out of me. It was fine. It just wasn't anything special, which is, disappointing when we have such beautiful books.
Beautiful gowns, beautiful gowns.
All right.
That's our worst / most disappointing books of the year. All in all, I feel even since it was hard for me to kind of find my worst books of the year, everything I think I read I enjoyed for the most part. Had a pretty good reading year.
Yeah, same. We both have read at this point, I think, 135 books. Overall, yeah, I had a pretty decent reading year. A lot of my books were good. Mm-hmm. Some of them were great. Quite a few of them were aggressively fine.
Yeah, and so we have a lot of anticipated releases coming out the next year that I'm so excited about, and hopefully we can get to them soon. But we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye!